Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the More Deals Mastermind. I'm your host, Robert Weichelt. Today's topic, the silver tsunami. In my opinion, and the opinion of many others that I've talked to, this is the biggest listing opportunity in the next 10 years. So we're grateful to have Josh Schoenly on from Lead Deck AI. We're going to share a lot of really great stuff. But before we do, we're going to dive right into the senior market opportunity. And that's really what it is. It's an opportunity that is upon us. You know, I'm heading to my senior years, and I tell you, it's a market that is certainly not going away. The market reality is the more competition. You know, think about this: agents are chasing the same sellers every single day. FSBOs and expireds are great, and a lot of agents are targeting those. Fewer opportunities, listings are harder to get. So the market, I think we can all agree, has shifted. And with that said, I'm just going to drop in some really interesting nuggets here. 10,000, that's a big number. Baby boomers turning 65 every single day in America. 78% of them own their own home. Many are mortgage free, and it's the number one underserved segment of our business. The opportunities are endless, guys. So let's go into they don't move, right? So why don't they move? Where do they go? We don't know where they go. There's a lot of times you can go into retirement living. My in-laws, we just moved them into a nice senior La Vida Real, very nice senior market. They sold their condo, which they've owned for years, had a bunch of cash from that, and that's helping them through their next phase. What are they going to do with everything? And the reason why I bring this up is because we as agents need to be a resource, more than just I can sell your home, but a resource for these folks. How do I even start? Well, first call. I always say this is one of my marketing I always do. There's 10 things you need to do to sell a home. The first thing you need to do is call me, and I'll take care of the other 9. With that mentality, you'll be just fine. Where most agents go wrong, and this is something I want to share before we get our special guest on. I'm setting up getting more silver tsunami type clients. Where most agents go wrong is they're leading with the listing and treating it like a transaction. This is not a conversation that you want to have. This is a life transformation. This is kind of next steps, last steps. So we need to be cognizant of that. The more deals approach, and here's the thing, stop leading with selling and start with understanding. Ask about their situation, their concerns, and their timeline. So many agents just come in hot, just want to list their home and move on. This is a big picture relationship. There's a lot of opportunity out there. I would say the best way to start this is instead of saying, are you planning on selling your home or thinking of selling your home? Lead with more of a, have you thought of what your next chapter might look like for you? Those are the kind of things that we need to do, is open real conversations, feel human, and build immediate trust. That's what this is. You need to become the trusted advisor. What it creates is trust, like I mentioned, real connection. You know, oftentimes you're dealing with the family members as well. So it's a really great business model. Help the seniors, because you know there's a big number, 10,000 every single day turning 65. A lot of downsizing going on, but they're family members. You do a great job with them. You got a lot of opportunity there with the family members. So I tell you what, it's an untapped market, and I've seen that. Where the opportunity comes from, basically, you want to be that person that they can call on. And hey, mom and dad have accumulated a lot of things over the years. We need to address those items first, whether it be an estate sale, a garage sale, or a Goodwill run. We need to make sure the home is decluttered. We need to make sure that the home is present and ready to be marketed. But in the meantime, where does mom and dad go? We need to make sure they either go to a retirement community, they go into maybe a smaller condo, less maintenance, like what my mother did. There's so many different solutions, and we need to make sure we're there guiding them through that process. We need to position ourselves. Guide them, not a salesperson. You need to be a resource, not pressure, and clarity, not confusion, because this is a very, very interesting segment. Also probates, and I'm sure Josh and I will talk about that here in a moment. You need to become a resource, not just a realtor, your trusted advisor network. And I'll be more than happy to share this presentation with everybody. Will be on our YouTube channel. I'll drop the link in. You can check this recording out after and watch it multiple times. But become a resource, not just a realtor. That's super important. And the network is contractors, senior move managers. There's lots of different places you can go to get this market. Josh is going to dive into it. And talking about where the leads come from, there's different, downsizing, there's probate, there's trust sales, there's so many untapped opportunities. And again, Josh is going to share with you exactly how to identify those, because I have a philosophy. First, you have to contact who are you contacting? Contact first, then have your messaging, and then have your process. So, Josh, I can't wait to get you on there. So, if
you want your phone?
If anybody has any,
what are we doing?
If anybody has any questions, go ahead and just put them in the chat box, and make sure you mute yourself. That's super important. We're going to go ahead and get a couple of folks muted, and then we're going to get right into our presentation with Josh Schoenly. So reach out to me. There's my QR code. It goes right to my calendar. So anytime you have any questions, let's take a look under the hood and find out what's going on in your business. So with that said, I can't wait to bring on my good buddy, Josh. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to get right to Josh. So let's stop sharing, because sharing is caring. Josh, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Let's roll. Can't wait.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pin you, and you're going to go ahead and just take away. But here's the first question, Josh, I had for you. First of all, thanks for being on. You and I've been colleagues for quite some time, and we've done a lot of collaborating.
Hard to believe how many years.
It's time is definitely flying by.
Yeah.
So the first question I want to ask from you for the audience is, let's tell everybody, who's Josh Schoenly?
So I have been in this business for over 20 years, licensed for just under 20, but I had been investing and wholesaling properties prior to that as well. So I know the industry, maybe not quite as well as Robert, but I'm getting close. And I have bounced back and forth between personal production and building software training and coaching, et cetera, for real estate agents. And there was a period of most of the 2010s where I was primarily focused there, and decided to reactivate my license and get back into production around 2019, 2020. And I grew an organization, was personally producing, got a small team, and we built Lead Deck last year, started to build Lead Deck to solve a very real problem in my own business, which was the fact that though I was doing okay, I still was riding the roller coaster that many of us, I'm sure, either have experienced or maybe are experiencing, which is sort of that feast and famine cycle. We've got deals, we've got activity, and then we don't. And so I really tried to sit down and solve that problem for myself first and foremost, and then ideally to help solve that problem for other agents who are motivated and want to do the same. And so in that process, what really came, or became very apparent to me is the main reason why myself and many others experience those cycles is because we rely too much on reactive business models. What do I mean by that? Well, from training that we've been sharing for the past year or so, I talk a lot about really there are only 3 activities as a real estate agent that get you clients. Number 1 is shepherding. You've got a sphere of influence and past clients. They're your herd. You take care of them when somebody needs your help, right? When a sheep, needs their help or starts to wander off, we try and help them. Number 2 is farming. It might be digital farming. It might be, direct mail farming, etc. And those are great ways to get business. And I'm not against those ways of getting business or those activities. I just personally found that if I only rely on those 2, it's inconsistent. And I don't have a lot of direct control over the timing and motivation of those 2 buckets. They're ready when they're ready. And if I try to push too hard, it oftentimes has the opposite effect of what we want. And so we built Lead Deck inspired by a Frankenstein together tech stack that was costing me $1,200 to $1,500 a month, but was getting me what I need, which is conversations with people that want and or need my help and service today or this week or this month. Not a year from now, not 18 months from now, not 3 years from now, but people that have a real need in the near immediate future. And we call that the fisherman strategy. So shepherding, farming, fishing. And I can fish and bring home fish to dinner for dinner. I can go fishing today and bring home fish for dinner. Not every day, but I have more control over that. It's a proactive way to fill my pipeline. So we built this, number one, to solve my own pain and my own problem. Number two, to help many agents like you do the same. And we've been sharing it with folks since late fall, early winter, and we have more and more people who are using it and having success with it. And so we're going to spend some time today quickly demonstrating how you can use that to find the audience that we're talking about, to get yourself in front of this silver tsunami. But we're going to explore other ways you might use it as well to have more conversations, because the more conversations you have with people that want and or need your help, the more contracts you will be writing, and therefore the more closings you will be a part of, so you can increase your GCI.
Amen, brother.
So when looks like I have to, I sent you a request to share my screen. While I'm doing that, I'm going to take some volunteers here, and I'm actually going to start with David, because David gave me a very specific market area, and I like to start with a very specific targeted area, and I'll explain and demonstrate for you why as we do that. Most of you have more than enough opportunity right in your backyard. And your backyard is not the greater Phoenix area, okay? Because I guarantee you, whoever shared greater Phoenix area, there are parts of Phoenix that you would loathe, doing business there, right? So one of the many beautiful things about this is we can get super laser targeted and really go after the people that we want to work with, the people in the specific zip code or the specific city that we want to very specifically target, and we can layer on potential motivating factors so that we're more effective and efficient. So I'm going to here's what I'm going to do. Before I do this, I do not say this to brag. I say this to illustrate illustrate the fact that this does work and it did solve my pain. I have since September, let's call it, which is when we started working on Lead Deck, I have fairly consistently closed a transaction per week. Okay. And I have done that effectively part-time. Now, I don't work part-time. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying I work on my personal real estate production part-time because I love doing things like this. We had a group Zoom workshop earlier today that was almost 2 hours. We had 19 people in a Nashville office that were participating. I love this stuff, but I also like commission checks, right? So I've built a way to help myself be effective and efficient using the blueprint that we've built. We call it the 1 deal a week blueprint, the reverse offer strategy, which is a huge component and something that Robert has been maybe not using the same verbiage as me, but has been touting for many, many years. And then better data and being able to get in conversation with that data more easily, quickly, and effectively. So I have never heard of this town in Georgia, so I have no idea what's going to pop up here when we go and search for this data. So there's one zip code in all of, I don't even know how to say that, Houston, I guess. And yet, look at all of this opportunity that there appears right out of the gate for me as I look at the data here in this town in, I think, northeastern Georgia. So if I wanted to start to go after the silver tsunami here in Houston, Georgia, I'm going to immediately go to senior owners that may also have an additional indicator of motivation or distress. And immediately for me, that means the senior owners that I see are default on their taxes. They're behind on their taxes. They have a potential financial pain, right? Very few people strategically don't pay their property taxes. I mean, I guess there are a few, but very few of them. Oh, I'm in your account, Robert. Hold on. Let me stop impersonating you and get into my account. So we're going to go back to Hoshton, Georgia. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't. It's got to be close enough, I would think. And I'm going to look at. I want to see how many senior owners in that city also are default on their taxes, and that's 15. And you might think that's not nearly enough for me to uncover opportunity. And I want to tell you that one of the reasons why we built this the way we built it is because I need far less data to get the same results. In other words, when I am more strategic about the people that I'm reaching out to and their potential motivation, I don't have to do as much work to get what we all need if we want to close more transactions, which is what? If you want to write more contracts to therefore close more transactions, what is the undeniable, what is the one thing that none of you in here can argue with that you need more of to do that? It is what? Don't be bashful. You can drop it in the chat. What is the one KPI that we need more of if we want to write more contracts and close more transactions? And it's not a trick question. Thank you, Celeste. We got to have more conversations. Specifically, more conversations with people that are more likely to want and or need our help and service. Okay? So we've got 15 of those in Hoshton, Georgia. I'm going to go deep with all 15 of those. I am going to leave no stone unturned so that I can understand what their situation may be and whether or not they may need my help or service in any way, shape, or form. Like Robert said, we want to have a service-first approach, a service mindset. We want to find out, is there something we can do to help or serve these people? So the data is one piece of this. And actually, let me take a step back and for those that don't understand or have any context about what this is that we built, I'm going to use an analogy that I use a lot when we're talking about this. And I'm going to tie in the fact that we need more conversations if we want to write more contracts and close more transactions. And the fact that those conversations happen on this thing, right? More often than not, they happen on this thing. So what we built, this is the best analogy that I've come up with to explain it. In what we've built and how this works, this thing here is your vehicle. You are the driver, and Lead Deck is the supercharged, turbocharged engine. It's a V8 with a Hemi or whatever. I'm not a car guy, but like the thing that'll get you going the fastest, right? The supercharged engine that gets you from 0 to 60 and I don't know what, a good number from 0 to 60. The only thing left is we need fuel to put into the engine because an engine won't run without any fuel, right? With Lead Deck, we can get the fuel from what we built, like I just demonstrated there. We can go and find the senior owners that are also default on their taxes in Hoshton, Georgia, and we can log in and literally start tapping to call them, tapping to text them, and tapping to email them, and we can even tap to send them direct mail right from here, right from your phone. But we can also bring other fuel or utilize other fuel. Robert mentioned for sale by owners, expireds, pre-foreclosures. It could be tired landlords. It could be out-of-state property owners. It could be probate records. It could be any property owner data can be used as fuel within Lead Deck. And it makes this easier, faster, more effective for you to have more conversations. So let's say I reach out to these 15 and 3 give me some indication that they're ready, willing, and able to sell in the near future. Well, what do we do then? Well, we try to connect with them. And Robert, you started to share something that got me thinking about this visual that I use a lot in these presentations. So I'm going to just go ahead and find this. I call this the 7 C's to compensation. So We need to choose the audience that we want to connect with. We choose that audience. In this case, the example we're using is Houston, Georgia. We need to collect them in some form or fashion. We might use Lead Deck to do it. If it's expired listings, we can use your MLS data, or maybe you're paying for some other data, whatever the case may be. If it's for sale by owner data, we have strategies for scraping that or finding that, etc. We collect the data. We then are going to contact that data. That's why we built Lead Deck, so we can tap to call them, we can tap to text them, we can tap to email them, we can tap to send direct mail. The goal of the contact is to get the conversation. And we don't care what the reply is. Yes, no, maybe, pound sand. Doesn't matter. I just want an answer. I don't want to just open up a loop. I want to close that loop. Good, bad, or ugly. Doesn't matter. Some of those we're going to be able to connect with on a deeper level, so that at some point now or in the near future, we will have the opportunity to contract with them and eventually close the transaction. We earn compensation, which is the 8th C, not pictured. But those 7 C's are how we do it. So it's just a matter of identifying who or what are we going to choose as the target audience, collect that information, we contact them to get into conversation, we connect with the ones that reply positively in some form or fashion. Eventually, we contract with them, and if we do our job, we close the deal and we earn that compensation. So back to here, I can go any number of places with that. Let's say David works that 15, and a bucket of 15 like that, usually that's like 30 to 45 minutes with what we built, and it's all happening just right on your phone, just tapping away. But 15. I mean, David's probably got some big goals, and he might get an immediate good one from that. But when we're working with folks, either with our accelerator program or even when we talk with folks on our free challenges, etc., we like to think in buckets of 100 or bushels of 100, because when you work 100 contacts, and you really work those contacts to get some sort of conversation, good, bad, or ugly, it's really hard not to uncover 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sometimes 10 now opportunities. And if not now, in the very near future. So I'm just going to, because David seems like a good sport and participating there, what would be the next town over? Or even while I'm waiting for that, that's just those silver tsunamis that we're talking about here. But how else might we stack that data? I might look at the senior owners that, I don't know, are any of them in pre-foreclosure? Because that could be, a financial pain too. There are 2 of those. Okay. Senior owner in pre-foreclosure. We want to find out what's the pain. How can we help, right? But let's say I want, I don't know, I want to see the senior owners that are free and clear in Houston. Well, that's 258. Now we've got a big bushel. Now, transparently, the problem with that bushel in particular is there's probably a lot of folks in there that don't have a whole lot of motivation. But I don't know. There's very little harm in having conversations with those folks. You plant a seed. You see if, or, is there any possibility that they might sell in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, and you're building your future pipeline with that. What about senior owners that are also tired landlords? Why is that relevant? Well, these are people that when I talk to them, I know they own more than one property. And when you own more than one property, I'm getting multiple at bats with one conversation. There were 13 of those in Houston. But now I decide, you know what? I don't really want to. I just really want to work in Houston. So I'm going to say, well, I think I squeezed out as much as I can for right now of senior owners. I might look at the pre-foreclosures. So we've got 20 total, but I would go for these right here. The notice of sale. They've been put on notice that the property is going to be sold if we don't fix this problem. Those folks, when you come from a place of service and you're not the wholesaler or the real estate investor who's trying to steal it for whatever, those folks can be a good conversation as well. Who else might I want to talk to here in Houston? Well, let's go back to stacking, but let's move away from the senior owners. Let's say I want to talk to the out-of-state absentee owners that also haven't paid their taxes. I don't live in state and I haven't paid my taxes. That's two, but I'm telling you, if you contact those two, you're probably talking to at least one out of the two, and you never know. You never know. What about the tired landlords that are tax default? Probably going to be a small number. Two again, but that's a good audience to get in touch with, a really good audience to get in touch with. Let's do this for who else had Brazelton? Oh, well, yeah, thank you, David. Let's pull up Brazelton. I think I've actually heard of that one. Brazelton. So we go to the next town over because we squeezed what we can from that. Another relatively small population. But if I stack the senior owners and tax default, haven't paid their taxes there, that's 10 of them. 10 of them. I know from my experience, if I pull that up on my phone and I start tapping away to converse with these, I generally speaking am going to talk to between 2 and 4 of them, and 1 to 2 of them we're going to connect, and there's going to be some opportunity for contract in the near to mid future. I'm just going to transparently say that I'm avoiding showing exactly how it works on my phone, because the problem is that will show contact information, and then we can't share this information with many others across the internet. Okay, but the way we've designed it is to remove as much of the friction from this phone to get you in conversation, because part of the inspiration for this Frankenstein together system that I had was I would have to start with a giant bucket of data, because by the time I scrub it and clean it and scrub it and clean it and put it into a CRM to do outbound whatever, I take this big bucket of 1,000 or 2,000 and it's dwindled down, and I get a couple of conversations, but I don't get as much out of it as I can with how we've built this and designed this to be a one-to-one communication tool with the people that we would most like to connect with and have a conversation. What data resources do we need to go with this system? Nothing. Nothing. You don't need any other data. You can bring other data if you want. We've built it so that you can either download the data from the system itself. You can bring your own data with contact info, or you can bring your own data without contact info. What do I mean by that? 3 types of fuel, okay? You can get fuel from the system, which that's where my analogy breaks down a little bit, because I don't know that are there any engines that create their own fuel? Probably not. If it existed, that would probably win the engine game. But you can use it to create your own fuel or get your own fuel. You can bring your own fuel in 2 different ways. You have the contact info. Let's say you've been getting Z-buyer seller leads for 2 years. You can bring those unconverted leads in here and literally start tapping away. We have example after example of people doing that and getting real now opportunities from old leads that were just sitting collecting dust in their their CRM, their Bold Trail, their Lofty, their Follow Up Boss, whatever. The other example is you can bring data, and as long as it has the address of the property, we'll go get you all of the contact info. We'll append the name, the phone numbers, the emails, etc., so that you can just tap to call, tap to text, tap to email, and you can then explain what data we have. Explain how, Rich. What's your specific question? We pay the #1 data provider in the United States for their data. It's called batch data. So we have any other tool that is providing real estate related data, we have the exact same data. What we've done differently and unique is created a user interface that functions on your phone that makes it actually way more streamlined to use the data. Because I've used all of the other data providers, and you have to be a relative rocket scientist to get the data in a fashion that you can actually get them in conversation.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do is avoid having duplicates if I start using your system. In other words, you've got probate data, so I don't need to get a source for probate data.
Well, to be clear, we don't have probate data because that is proprietary by county. We don't have it natively in that because batch data does not provide that because it's not it's not uniformly available. However, we have a playbook and a process for getting that probate data. And if you said you wanted probate data in Orange County, California, we would work with you to build that out so that you got proprietary data, specifically probate, into the system.
So what about something like expireds and canceleds and that? Is that something we didn't have to import from our own
Correct.
MLSs? Okay.
Yep.
Would that be like
The process for that is you export the expired data that you want to work from your MLS. You import it to our system. We append all of the contact information. We have AI search to see has the property been sold or actively relisted for sale, and then it's all in there and it's ready for you to work.
Okay.
Josh, question for you. Would that be like a My Plus Leads, for example, for FSBO's expired pre-foreclosures? Would that work well?
If you're already paying for and using that data, you can bring that data into our environment, and in that use case, the value of that would be, again, removing the friction of this thing equals money. So let's get this data into a usable format that we can remove a lot of the friction and just allow you to spend more of your working time having more of those conversations. So if you are, I'm not suggesting you have to pay for additional data, but if you already are, you can bring whatever data you currently have into our environment and just have a lower friction way for you to get in conversation with that data.
So the question that I would have, Josh, so if you have My Plus Leads and you're already using it, you could use that data to take the FSBOs, the expireds, the pre-foreclosures, or whatever you're getting My Plus Leads to do. Or could Lead Deck eliminate, say, a My Plus Leads type of service?
It could, and we have many folks using it who have eliminated a lot of additional costs. For example, for me, I can, like, this is real world. Before Lead Deck, like as of October, before we like launched it early November, I was paying $1,200 to $1,500 per month, depending on how much data I was using and the tools. And I don't have any of those anymore because I do everything I need to that all of that tech stack did with what we built. And again, transparently, we built it first and foremost to solve my pain. And it's just that I love this, and I have a passion for helping other small business owners, which is what we all are here, with their pain, which is,
So two more questions, and then I'll shut up for a second. So you give me some other ideas to ask a good question.
Yeah.
The first one is, I was talking to a service that scrubs social media. So is there something in your process that scrubs social media for these things, or would that be something that I would want to?
No, and I think I got to be honest. I think that's creepy more than anything.
Okay.
We don't, and I'll say transparently, we have no interest in doing that. Well, I'm going to talk out of both sides of my cheek. We have a built-in AI search function that costs nothing. That you hit a button on a card. So we intentionally have our own language. Lead Deck it was inspired by the idea that real estate, when you're a fisherman, it's really nothing more than a game of go fish. And we're trying to match up a willing buyer with a willing seller. And that's all we're doing. So Lead Deck, when you work it, that 15 senior owners that are tax default, we would call that a deck of cards, a deck of sellers. Each card you can do a number of different functions with. You can tap to call, you can tap to text, you can tap to email, you can tap a button and have the institutional offers like in an instant show. These are the single close options, the dual close options, and oh, by the way, there are buy now, sell later. Yeah, buy now, sell later options. You can tap to add to direct mail. You can tap to enhance skip trace because we have 2 layers of skip tracing built in, and there's a button that you can do an AI search for that. I share that to say sometimes that AI search will pull back a LinkedIn profile, a Facebook profile, etc. I never use that personally.
Okay, well, that was just something that somebody had talked about.
Yeah.
The second thing was, you keep showing your iPhone or your Android. So you're calling directly on your phone and you're not like going through Bold Trail.
Yes.
Okay, now how do you deal with the issue of not getting stuck with do not no, that's not the thing, being a spam call?
I can only answer that in my personal experience. I've been using the thing since November and I use it a lot and it's just not a thing because you're not the way we use it, we're not a spammer.
Can you explain that a little bit more so I understand?
Richard, if I was trying to get a hold of you about your property because you were an absentee owner and I called you and you didn't answer and I left you a voicemail and I personally texted you and I personally sent you an email, am I a scammer or am I somebody who genuinely is trying to reach you about something that I have that might be helpful to you if you're looking for the help?
Well, I mean, obviously, I know that you're trying to reach to help. So I'm just
You're trying to solve a problem that is it's just not a problem with the way we use the tool.
Okay, so that you answered the question. Somehow, how you're using the tool, you don't get stuck in spam. That's
Well, the way we use here, and here's maybe a better way to answer that. Because of the way it's built, and because of the strategies that we recommend people use, you don't have to make 100 dials a day. In fact, we tell people don't do that. You shouldn't do any more than 25 a day. Because if you're doing 25 a day, 3 to 4 days a week, and you're not having enough conversations to put a transaction or a potential transaction on the board at least one a week, there's something about the way you're going about it that we need to take a look at and improve. So it's less about volume, quantity, and more about quality. And going deep with each card and being strategic about the cards that you're spending the time going deep with. Somebody asked about is the data checked against the DNC? 1,000,000%. It's scrubbed against the DNC and the known litigator list. And if that phone number is on the DNC, we put a bright red DNC icon with it. And also, that said, you can still hold the number in and call or text it if you choose. It's just that we're adding a little bit more friction if that's the case. And I say that not as advice because I'm not an attorney and this is not a recommendation in any way, shape, or form. We make it very clear if they're on the DNC, and then you get to choose what you do with it. One thing that you can't do if it's on the DNC, and again, unfortunately, I can't demonstrate some of this for you. So if you want, here's what we'll do, Robert. For those that want a more specific demo, I've got a beautiful 11-minute demo that, if I'm being honest, does a way better job of explaining everything than I've done in the last 45 minutes. And also they can see in practicality some of the things that I'm describing, but that if we show any data, it will get flagged. I am happy to share that with anyone. I will make sure that Robert has that link after this. It's an 11-minute Loom video, and it's me walking through the two pieces of the puzzle here, which is the different ways to get the fuel into the engine. And then once the fuel's into the engine, how we then on our phone start tapping to contact. Related to the DNC, if a cell phone number is on the DNC, we deactivate our pre-populated text message because two of the things that make this more effective and efficient is when you tap to email a contact, it is pulling whatever pre-populated script you choose ahead of time, like when you start your session, and it will say, let's say it's let's say for the senior owners, it would say subject line RE street address, because we found that to be a really good subject line when sellers. And then the body of the email would say, hey, Robert, this is Josh with eXp Realty. Just curious, is there any chance you'd consider an offer on your property at street address this summer? ? Please let me know either way. and then all of your contact info. So we tap, that pre-populates, and we tap and send. The text message version is just a text message version of it. Like it's not, it does not format it. I say all of that to say that if that mobile number is on the DNC, the pre-populated text won't be there, because again, we're discouraging that, and also the number is still there, so you can do with it what you want. And there are specific use cases of types of fuel that I think you can make a better case for the fact that the DNC is irrelevant, but that's another topic for another time.
What's interesting, Josh, is the DNC FISBOs. The ones are on Zillow. Their phone number's on the DNC, but they're asking you to call them about their home. I was always curious about that. That's
people not knowing because they opted into the DNC list. Whenever, like, I don't remember last time I opted in for the DNC list, but I think I show up for that still. And obviously, I want people to call me. I don't want people not to call me, right? So some of that is just people did something at some point. I'll say this. One of the things I didn't even demonstrate in here, but since I'm bringing it up, I'll show it. When I'm reaching out to what we call portfolio buyers, so for example, we get one of these Brazelton senior owners, tax default, and they say, we'd like an offer, but we just want to sell it cash as is. Great. We can make that happen. I'm going to go over and I'm going to look at the buyers in Brazelton, of which there are 26 cash buyers, 39 active landlord buyers, and 5 vacant land buyers, which by our definition means this. We call these portfolio buyers because they all have a portfolio of at least 5 properties, and they bought one in the last 3 years, either with cash, meaning no recorded mortgage at the time of purchase. Now, it might have financing or debt on it now, but when they bought it, it was effectively cash, quote unquote. This one, exactly the same, portfolio buyer. It's just that when they bought it, the active landlords, when they bought it, there was a recorded mortgage or financing. And then vacant land, the same. There must not be much multifamily in Brazelton, Georgia. When I'm reaching out to these people, I kind of throw the DNC to the side, because when I'm reaching out to them, I'm bringing them something they have already demonstrated on public record that they like. It's like I'm bringing chocolate chip cookies to my wife, who loves chocolate chip cookies. You know what I mean? Like, I'm bringing them what they want. I am way more cautious when I'm reaching out to, for example, a senior owner or a pre-foreclosure, specifically a pre-foreclosure where it's their primary residence and they're not an investor. Like, there's some nuance to that. But again, not legal advice or recommendation. I'm telling you my best practices. And I can tell you, if you just want to talk to more people to do more deals, these people here, it is really easy to get a hold of. I contacted 3 cash buyers in the last 2 days because I've been so busy. But I have as a matter of circumstance, a senior owner who's looking to downsize, literally move in with his daughter because he needs more care and so forth. And they just bought a home that has an in-law suite that's perfect for him. And I know it's in his best interest to do what I call my 7-day stress-free home sale, what Robert calls his 14-day, I forget the exact words, but same concept. I know that's what's in his best interest, but he has it in his head that he wants to sell it all cash as is. And so I'm going to bring him what he thinks he wants in order to get him to embrace the fact that that's probably not going to get you the number that you really want. And I know we can get even more than the number you're thinking you want if you just let me run this play. I say all of that to say, I reached out to 3 cash buyers in that city in the last 2 yesterday morning and 1 this morning. I talked to all 3 of them. All 3 of them said, send me what you got. So I have 3 potential new clients, regardless of whether or not we end up working out a deal on the place I was calling them about. And also, all 3 of them own at least 5 properties. In fact, one of them owns 7, one of them owns 10, and one owns 12. What does that mean? At some point, they're going to want to sell that portfolio, or at least part of that portfolio.
May I ask another question?
Fire away, Rich.
Do you use iList for your cash offers, and how does that integrate into your system?
I do where and when it makes sense. So I'm actually going to bring up let me bring up the visual and then I'll share my screen.
And Josh,
Because
I put the iList cash offers link in the chat for those interested in getting free
Perfect.
access to cash offers.
So let me pull this up here because I think this will be fun. This will probably, if I had to guess, this might be the most useful part of this conversation.
What I was
today.
curious about was, what do I need to have with iList if I have your system?
Well, you don't need to have anything with iList, but I think it's worth having it. So like you wouldn't need to have any of it to work to use Lead Deck, but I think there's value in having it. At a minimum, the free cash offer access, and eventually you're going to want the premium access because you're going to build a pipeline such that there are resources that are part of the premium that are going to help you squeeze more out of the people you're putting into the pipeline. But the short answer is you wouldn't need it at all right now. I'd still would recommend you at least have the free access to the cash offers.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to know how I would integrate them. So I'll have to get that.
What do you mean integrate?
I'm not sure. You said that you can get a cash offer.
Yeah, that works regardless of whether you have anything signed up with them. We directly API integrate with their platform that you can hit a button. Now, you're not going to see the full offers, but you can. The reason we put that into these cards for you is that you can see in an instant when you're talking with someone on the phone or having a text conversation where those offer ranges are, because one of our most effective playbooks with old unconverted leads, and actually now that I'm saying it, this would be a wildly effective playbook with the senior owners, is what we call our magic number playbook, which is basically, hey, is there any chance you'd be open to an offer? Question. And if so, what would that number need to look like for you? Question mark. And sometimes you get people that are wildly unrealistic. They say 5 million and you hit the button on the instant cash offers and the best one's $1 million. Well, you can tell pretty quickly this person's just giving me a hard time. But they say 800, I hit the thing and it says 750 to 800 the range. Now I've got somebody that's like, I think they might be realistic. Let's dig deeper here. Let's connect deeper here. That works within Lead Deck regardless of what you have with them.
Then going to iList would be filling out the information and having more to deal and work with.
Correct. So my personal workflow is I go to their platform to pull the offers there once I've connected with them.
Okay.
Like I've it's not just that they replied, but I had some deeper connection. We've had an exchange by text, we've had an exchange by email, or it was a phone conversation that leads me to believe that if I present them or demonstrate to them that I provide more in value and options than my competition, eventually I will likely get them to do what is in 95 to 98% of home sellers' best interest, which is let's get it on the open market and let the market decide what the value of this thing is.
What I'm trying to do is just figure out what I do or don't need as far as resources. Like you said, you got rid of $1,200, $1,500 a month. I'm trying to make sure that I'm lean and mean, but also have functionally what I need to be successful.
Totally. If I were starting brand new in a new market, I would have the free access to the instant offers. I would have Lead Deck and my MLS access, and I'm good to roll. Now, eventually, I want to put some other things in place because there are some efficiencies that come with having a proper CRM and the premium version of iList, et cetera. But like, if I'm thinking lean and mean, let's lead with revenue. Let's use the thing that is going to get you more of the thing you need, which is conversations, and then you can build and add more as necessary. But for me, what it stripped down was I didn't even like the portfolio buyers. I was paying $250 a month just for a service that gave me that same data. We just built it into the thing. That alone, I was paying $250 per month for, and we just built it into ours. That's one example. I was paying for a big data provider. I had an outreach tool that I was using because anyway, it was a mucked up thing. And thankfully I've pared it down. And Rich, I'm happy to do, we could hop on a Zoom and we could take a look at what are you paying for, what is probably unnecessary, how can we get lean and mean and just get you in more conversations with motivated buyers and sellers. To that question, I thought, A, I love these infographics. So I want to share that. B, I mentioned the analogy of just playing a game of real estate, go fish. When I get a seller that says yes, I'm thinking, this is the checklist I'm going in my hand. Do I have any pocket buyers that this makes sense for? Meaning, many times they are portfolio buyers, but it might be retail buyers that by in my pocket, I mean they're a saved contact in my phone or in my CRM or that I'm connected with on social media, that if I know that if I bring them the property that fits their buy box, they're going to be at least curious enough to want more information and probably make an offer. So that's first. Do I have that? Second is I want to look at the portfolio buyers in that zip code. I'm talking to a senior owner that is default on their taxes. What can I probably assume? There's probably some deferred maintenance, right? So do I have a portfolio buyer that might come in and help solve this problem? And then lastly is the institutional offers, right? That's a catch-all that, I forget what Joe says. It's 90+% of residential properties you can get multiple offers on, because I want to have at least one, if not two ways to bring them what they want if they're a property owner who wants to sell, which is not us in the room here, because we don't bring the money. In fact, we take money from the transaction. They want the people that bring the money, and I want to bring them the people that bring the money, because when I do that, we're having a different conversation. I'm not trying to convince them to sign a paper to let me put it on the open market. Now, eventually, I might be able to compel them because I've demonstrated them a different value proposition and optionality that they're not getting elsewhere. But I'm not trying to convince them up front, hey, it looks like you were, you tried to sell last year and failed. Will you let me put it back on the market? No. Hey, are you still accepting offers on your property at 123 Main Street? Yes, we are. What's the offer? Give me a couple hours. I'll put together preliminary numbers and I'll get right back to you. Does that work? We're having a different conversation. Now, eventually, they may come to the assumption for themselves, oh, give this guy a shot. He's pretty sharp. And sometimes the best case scenario happens. For example, 2 or 3 Mondays ago, I don't know, I lose track of time because these kids during the summer, I don't know where the summers go. I literally somebody's going somewhere all the time. So a couple Mondays ago, I load up into Lead Deck 30 for sale by owners in my market. I literally just went to, there's a free service that you can go and download a CSV file. And I did this just to have a case study. So I download these 30, I load them up, and I tap to text them all. I didn't even call them. I just tapped to text them all. And it took me all of 15 minutes, if that, to get the data in and to tap to text them all because of the way we built it, okay? Of those 30, 15 of them had either gone under contract or listed. So, but I don't care. It took me 15 minutes, whatever. 15 of them were still available in some form or fashion. And my personal FSBO playbook, which we share with our folks, and if you want a copy of that, I'll be happy to share it with anybody here. I add a little friction before I get to work on them, which is I ask first, are they still accepting offers? And then I ask, if we brought you an acceptable offer, would you pay a finder's fee? Why do I ask that? Because usually 1 out of 10 is like, no, you people are evil. We will never pay you anything. And then I can just cross them off the list and never think about them again. But most of them say, yeah, what are you thinking, blah, blah, blah. But I just, at least I'm getting some compliance. And that if eventually I pivot to, hey, you probably, we could do this 7-day stress-free home sale thing for the same finder's fee. You already told me you'd pay me. Anyway, I go through these 30. 3 of them in particular I connect with. One of them, immediately, I was like, I got a pocket buyer for this. Russ. I text Russ, the property, hey, I think you should check this property out. Under contract in 48 hours, settlement tomorrow. I've never even seen the property. I'm just playing matchmaker. I'm just matching it up, right? Now, that's best case scenario, and that doesn't happen a lot, but honestly, it happens every month or two for me because I'm playing the game. I'm playing the game. I got these people here that are ready, willing to make an offer. And all I got to do is find the people on the other side that are still accepting offers or might consider an offer. That's it. And I know I'm making it sound easy, but it kind of is. If you just treat it like a game and you understand that the more reps you do, the more likely you are to succeed. Like I have this conversation all the time with my kids and other, because our kids do sports. I spend my non-working time almost exclusively with parents of athletes because it's just like we're softball practice, softball game, soccer, this, that, and the other thing, right? And like I have the conversation often. It's like it just is reps. You want to be a better hitter? You just got to hit more. You just got to hit more. Like the guys that hit every day are the guys that hit. The girls that have a knockdown 3-point jumper, they're the girls that are shooting 100, 200, 300 threes a day. They're just putting in more reps. That's it. Now, the cool thing here is we get paid a lot. So you don't even need that many reps every day. You put in 100 reps a week for 4 weeks, you will be busier than you have any idea what to do with. You will have other problems to solve. I mean, no doubt. Like you will literally have to figure out, do I need to hire a transaction coordinator? Do I need to do this, that, and the other? Or am I just going to work a little bit more? Because, again, we get paid pretty nicely on a transaction. Now, some of you a lot more nicely than me because of your average price point, but my cost of living is also a lot cheaper here in central Pennsylvania than some of you anyway.
Well, Josh, I tell you, man, this has been absolute fire, brother. I tell you, it's what a pleasure to have you on and sharing all those great tools. I just want to go through a couple of things. I left in the chat box Josh's links if you want to check out what he's got going on. There's a couple of links in there that you could take advantage of. I did put the cash offers. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Jump on the cash offers, open up your account, set it up, go run free cash offers. There's certainly upgrades, but it doesn't cost you anything to get started and literally pull up cash offers. Josh's video, thank you for putting that Loom video in,
of course,
in the chat box. I can't wait to check that out. You mentioned something about 100 calls, 20 contacts, and it dwindles down. But the biggest thing you need to do is you need to track and measure what's working. If track and measure your success with FSBOs, they have their hands up, guys. Track and measure your numbers with expired. That's the lowest hanging fruit. I would personally go after FSBO expired, pre-foreclosure, the senior market, huge opportunity that we talked about today. But there's so many tools that Lead Deck is giving you that ability to go after. I think the biggest thing is you just need to be consistent. Like Josh said, the hitter that hits the best is the one that's hitting the most. You got to take your at-bats. And so many agents, I coach, train, and mentor agents all over the country, and Josh, and they say, well, I called a FSBO before it didn't work. Well, it may not have worked if you called one, but you need to reach out to the numbers, track and measure your numbers and what works for you. So Josh, any closing remarks before we?
Yeah, so I'm going to dig a little bit deeper on the 3 links that you put to the resources because I want to connect the dots and give people a real good reason to check out all of them. So the first one is our next 3-day challenge. We call it our 1 deal a week 3-day challenge, and we take everyone through the 3-step blueprint. Step 1 is we find bait. Step 2 is we use that bait to engage with the active buyers. Step 3 is we make offers. We're either making offers on the bait that we brought, or we're making offers to sellers because we now have buyers who are ready, willing, and able to make that offer. Totally free, and it starts, I don't know, sometime in July. I can't remember the exact date. I think July 21st. Totally free to register. Then we're giving you 5 active cash buyer leads in the zip code of your choice and 5 free pre-foreclosures in the city of your choice. And we do that for a couple of reasons. Number 1, we want to create goodwill. Number 2, when you check those out, you will be emailed the leads. And you can literally use the tool from the email the way you would have it if you have the full license. So you can experience the tap to call, the tap to text, the tap to email, just like you had the full license to it. So it's a great way to experience it. Not only that, but we had an agent in our May 1 deal a week challenge that got the 5 free cash buyer leads in his zip code. He reached out to the first one, nothing. He reached out to the second one, nothing. He reached out to the third one, nothing. The fourth one went and showed a property the next day. The fifth one went and had a listing appointment with the guy the next week. Can't guarantee that your experience will be the same. But if you just talk to people who are giving some indication to the world that they might want or need your help and service, I promise you, you will eventually write more contracts and close more transactions.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. I'll tell you what, Josh Schoenly, you have been a huge resource for us. We certainly welcome any questions. So reach out to us. We're more than happy to go next level. We've reached our time on the More Deals Mastermind. I tell you what, Josh, thank you very much. That was powerful.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Very, very, very powerful. And I tell you what, I guys want to remind you that check your chat, check out the links. Josh, thank you so much. Join us every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern by going to moredealsmastermind.com. We are here, we're ready, and we have great guests like Josh each and every week. And I'll tell you what, it's been so much fun to hear what you've got going on. And guys, it's super simple to handle this. So at the end of the day, Josh, thank you so much. And I always have this saying, we'll see you in escrow.